Carl Jung and the Psychology of the Man-Child. Why so many never truly grow up? What if the very comfort that keeps you safe is the same force holding you back from your true life? This video is not out advice. It is an invitation to see the patterns you never questioned, to feel what you've numbed for too long, and to hear the voice within you've learned to silence. From childhood wounds to cultural illusions, we walk through 12 deep truths about why so many feel lost, afraid, or emotionally stuck, and how you can begin to heal. If you've ever sensed there's more to you than the life you're living, stay with us. This is not self-help. This is self-remembering. Leaving the old shore, the price of delayed maturity. There is a reason the ocean is both feared and admired. It is vast, unknown, and impossible to tame. Yet without the courage to lose sight of the shore, no man has ever discovered new lands. This truth extends far beyond geography. It lives at the heart of human development. In the mid-20th century, Swiss psychologist Marie-Louise von Franz observed a growing number of adults who seemed stuck in adolescence. They aged in body but not in soul. They clung to the shore of comfort and familiarity, refusing to step into the sea of uncertainty that life demands. What keeps us docked in safety is not weakness but fear, a quiet fear of loss, change, and self-responsibility. It is often disguised as comfort or even loyalty to our past. But slowly, it eats away at vitality. Time does not wait. The longer we delay, the deeper the roots of dependency grow. For many, this stagnation is invisible. They move through life numbed by distractions, relationships that lack depth, jobs that do not nourish, and a growing silence within. Behind their eyes is a longing they rarely name, the desire to live fully, to risk, to transform. Healing does not begin with certainty. It begins with the honest recognition that something essential has been left behind. To grow, we must mourn the parts of ourselves we outgrow. We must release the comfort of yesterday to awaken to the meaning waiting in the unknown. This is not abandonment. It is the first act of return. Not to the past, but to the self we have not yet become. Forever a child, the shadow of pure eternus. Across cultures and myths, there exists an image of a divine child who never grows old. He is playful, imaginative, full of potential, and forever young. In psychology, this figure is known as the pure eternus. Carl Jung used this term to describe a psychological pattern in adults who, though mature in appearance, remain emotionally and spiritually arrested in adolescence. They avoid the weight of responsibility, fear limitation, and chase after novelty without direction or grounding. Their life is a constant escape from the ordinary and an endless search for intensity. Marie-Louise von Franz, Jung's close collaborator, warned that the pure lives not in the real world but in a fantasy. He avoids commitment and avoids the pain of maturity. He is charming and passionate but struggles with endurance and self-discipline. He may appear free, but inside he is trapped by fear. Instead of facing the slow work of building a life, he floats from one experience to another, hoping something external will save him from the inner emptiness he dares not confront. This condition is not rare. It is growing, especially in modern societies where comfort is abundant but meaning is scarce. Many young men fall into this pattern. They fear growing up not because they are lazy but because they feel unprepared or the world. They long for freedom but dread the price of becoming responsible. They confuse eternal youth with eternal escape. Yet within this archetype is also a hidden gift. The pure carries a sensitivity to beauty and a longing for the ideal. If integrated rather than denied, he can become a creative force rather than a self-destructive one. The challenge is not to destroy the eternal child but to guide him out of fantasy and into reality, where his dreams can serve something greater than himself. A lost generation, when adults live like teenagers. Something peculiar is unfolding in our time. A growing number of adults are finding it difficult to step fully into adulthood. Outwardly they are men and women with jobs, education, and physical maturity. Inwardly many remain caught in the mindset of adolescence. They avoid discomfort, chase fleeting pleasures, and resist the responsibilities that would shape them. They seek distraction, not direction. Pleasure, not purpose. This pattern is especially visible among young men in modern societies. Many remain financially and emotionally dependent well into their 30s. They live at home, postpone careers, avoid commitment, and find refuge in entertainment and online worlds. These are not simply lifestyle choices. They are symptoms of a deeper crisis of identity and meaning. Modern culture celebrates youth and dismisses maturity. We glorify freedom but downplay responsibility. We offer stimulation without substance, abundance without initiation. The result is a generation adrift. Lost not because they lack intelligence or opportunity, but because they have not been shown how to suffer with dignity, struggle with meaning, or grow with intention. Beneath the surface of passivity is often deep confusion and quiet despair. Many feel inadequate to meet life's demands. They sense something is missing but cannot name it. Without rites of passage or strong mentors, they drift. But the human spirit does not thrive in drift. It seeks depth. It longs for truth. What this generation needs is not more comfort, but more clarity. Not more distraction, but more direction. They need to be reminded that maturity is not the loss of freedom, but the gateway to a fuller kind of life. Invisible roots, when maternal love becomes a chain. The bond between mother and child is one of the most powerful forces in human life. In the early years, it offers safety, warmth, and emotional nourishment. This connection shapes the foundation of our inner world. But when this bond is never loosened, it can quietly become a chain. What once nurtured growth begins to hinder it. The very closeness that once protected now prevents the child from stepping into life as an individual. Psychologists call this the mother complex. It occurs when the emotional imprint of the mother remains too dominant in the psyche. The individual, often without awareness, remains emotionally tied to her influence. This can take many forms. A man may fear separation, avoid independence, or seek mother-like figures in relationships. He may sabotage his own progress out of a deep unconscious loyalty. He may even feel guilt for wanting to grow beyond her reach. This pattern is not the mother's fault. Nor is it the child's weakness. It is the result of a broken initiation process. In many traditional cultures, rituals helped young people separate from their mothers and step into adulthood. These rites were not cruel. They were sacred acts that acknowledged the difficulty of letting go. In their absence, many remain emotionally enmeshed far beyond childhood. Healing this bond does not mean rejecting the mother. It means transforming the relationship. It means learning to carry her influence with love, but not with dependency. It means seeing her not as an anchor, but as a point of origin. Only then can one begin to grow roots of their own and stand fully in the world as a whole and independent self. The loss of initiation, when the rite of separation is stolen. In traditional societies, the transition from adolescence to adulthood was marked by rites of passage. These ceremonies were not mere formalities. They were powerful psychological and spiritual events. Young men were removed from the comfort of home, from the arms of their mothers, and plunged into challenge and mystery. These trials symbolized the death of childhood and the birth of a new identity. They were harsh, but they honored the truth that maturity does not come without pain. Without such rituals, the line between youth and adulthood becomes blurred. Many remain physically grown but emotionally uncertain, unsure when or how to step forward. The modern world has discarded these transitions. What remains is a society full of people who look like adults but feel like children inside. They are unsure of their place. They doubt their worth. They seek validation but fear responsibility. This loss is not just cultural. It is psychological. Without meaningful rights, the psyche lacks a container for growth. The old self is not properly laid to rest, and the new self is not fully born. The person remains stuck in between, restless and fragmented. Modern education may teach skills, but it rarely teaches transformation. Popular culture offers entertainment, not initiation. Therapy may help, but it cannot replace communal rights that once shaped generations. To heal, we must recognize what was lost. We must create new ways to cross the threshold. This might mean facing fears, accepting solitude, or enduring symbolic trials. Maturity is not given. It is earned. And it begins the moment we stop waiting to be rescued and begin walking, however uncertainly, into the unknown with courage and humility. The absent father, losing the one who guides the way. The father figure holds a crucial place in the journey to adulthood. He is not only a provider of resources and protection but a guide into the outer world. His presence teaches the child how to take action, face difficulty, and stand alone. A strong father helps the child detach from the emotional world of the mother and move toward independence. He shows, by example, that life is worth struggling for. But in the modern age, many fathers are absent. Some are physically gone. Others are emotionally distant, lost in their own unresolved pain or consumed by work and distraction. The result is a deep imbalance in the inner world of the child. Without a present and integrated father, the path forward becomes unclear. The child grows up searching for structure and strength, often finding none. Studies have shown that a large percentage of young men report having little or no meaningful connection with their fathers. This absence creates a vacuum. It leaves sons without direction, unsure of how to shape their identity. Without the father's gaze, a boy may feel invisible. Without his encouragement, he may doubt his potential. This is not about blame. Many fathers themselves were never shown how to father. They carry wounds from generations past. But the effect remains. A father who cannot guide leaves behind a son adrift. And a society without strong fathers becomes a society without strong initiators. Healing begins when we acknowledge the absence. When we stop pretending it did not matter. When we begin to rebuild the inner father, the voice of courage, discipline, and guidance within. The father may not return in person, but his essence can still be claimed. Through mentors, inner work, and conscious living, we can become the men we once needed to see. The all-encompassing mother, when love turns devouring. When the father is absent, the mother is often left to carry both roles. She must nurture and protect, but also guide and discipline. This double burden can become overwhelming. Without the balancing influence of a strong partner, the mother may become overly involved in the life of her child. Her love, though well-intentioned, begins to cross boundaries. She may unconsciously seek emotional fulfillment through her son. He, in turn, may find comfort in this closeness and fear the world beyond her. Psychologists refer to this as the devouring mother archetype. It is not about malice or control. It is about emotional entanglement that prevents separation. The mother may discourage independence. Not because she wants to harm, but because she fears being alone or irrelevant. The son may comply, not out of weakness, but out of loyalty and guilt. This quiet dynamic can last for decades, stalling the son's growth and blurring his sense of self. Such relationships often appear loving on the surface, but underneath, they drain energy and stifle development. The son may struggle with decision-making, avoid conflict, or sabotage opportunities for fear of upsetting the emotional bond. He may seek similar dynamics in romantic relationships, recreating dependency instead of building partnership. Healing this pattern begins with awareness. It requires both mother and son to recognize the cost of their closeness. Love that protects must eventually release. For a child to become whole, he must be allowed to leave, to fall, to rise, and to return not as a boy, but as a man. The mother, too, must reclaim her own life, not through her child, but through her own purpose, freedom, and self-respect. The sleepwalkers, escaping into illusion. When real life feels overwhelming, many retreat into fantasy. The modern world offers endless ways to escape. Video games, pornography, social media, and virtual realities promise comfort without challenge, stimulation without growth. For the adult who has not fully matured, these distractions become a substitute for purpose. They offer a sense of control in a life that feels directionless. This escape is not always obvious. It can look like harmless habits or personal preferences. But behind the screen, something deeper is happening. The individual avoids responsibility, avoids failure, and avoids the unknown. Instead of confronting their fears, they numb them. Instead of building a meaningful life, they consume experiences that never satisfy. Slowly, they forget what it means to strive, to risk, or to care deeply. The sleepwalker is not lazy. He is wounded. He does not lack intelligence. He lacks initiation. He has never been taught how to suffer well or how to transform pain into strength. Without guidance, he turns inward but not in reflection. He collapses into comfort. He becomes a prisoner of his own longing, searching for meaning in places that cannot provide it. This is the hidden tragedy of our time. So many live surrounded by abundance yet feel deeply empty. Their souls hunger for depth. But the world keeps feeding them surfaces. To awaken is not to reject pleasure, but to remember that life asks for more. It asks for presence. It asks for courage. It asks us to leave illusion and step into the real. Not because it is easy, but because it is true. The cost of an unawakened soul. To live without awakening is not simply to miss out on joy. It is to carry a quiet sorrow that never fully speaks. Many walk through life not as participants, but as shadows of themselves. They do what is expected, say what is safe, and avoid what is real. They numb their longings with comfort, silence their questions with noise, and bury their pain beneath routine. On the outside, they appear fine. Inside, something essential has gone still. An unawakened soul does not mean a broken person. It means a life not fully claimed. The person may have success, security, and approval, but lack aliveness. They may feel like a stranger to their own existence. This disconnection breeds restlessness. It can show up as anxiety, apathy, or constant dissatisfaction. Something always feels missing because something vital has been abandoned. The cost of this sleep is profound. Without inner awakening, we lose touch with meaning. We forget why we are here. We forget what calls us, what moves us, what makes us feel truly alive. We become actors in someone else's story, afraid to write our own. But even in sleep, the soul waits. It does not vanish. It whispers through dreams, aches, and sudden moments of clarity. It reminds us that there is more to life than survival. More than success. More than pleasing others. Awakening is not about perfection. It is about honesty. It is the sea. Hoist to turn inward, to ask deeper questions, and to risk living from the truth that stirs within. Demystifying psychology, no one is broken. Only misunderstood. Many people fear the word psychology. They imagine it means something is wrong with them. That to seek help is to admit failure. But psychology is not about labeling weakness. It is the study of the human soul. It asks why we suffer, how we heal, and what it means to live with depth. It does not judge. It listens. It does not diagnose you as broken. It helps you understand the hidden story behind your pain. Too often, we carry shame for what we feel. We think we are the only ones who doubt, who grieve, who struggle in silence. But these experiences are not signs of failure. They are signs of being alive. The human journey is filled with confusion, longing, fear, and contradiction. To explore these parts is not weakness. It is courage. Psychology offers us a mirror. Not to criticize, but to reflect what lies beneath the surface. It shows us the patterns we repeat, the wounds we carry, and the beliefs that limit us. It teaches us that every symptom holds a message. Every defense hides a fear. Every fear points to something we value. To understand these things is to begin the process of transformation. No one is born with a manual for life. We all inherit burdens, develop coping strategies, and search for meaning in different ways. Psychology does not fix you. It frees you. It gives you language for what you could not name and compassion for what you once judged. It reminds you that you are not alone and that there is nothing wrong with being human. The meaning of life, naming what makes you want to wake up each morning. We are not only creatures of survival. We are beings of meaning. Without a sense of purpose, even comfort becomes empty. Many people today have everything they thought they wanted but still feel lost. They wonder why joy is fleeting and why life feels flat. The answer is often not more success or stimulation. It is the absence of meaning. Meaning is not something handed to us. It is something we must uncover. It is born from what we care about, what we sacrifice for, and what makes our hearts come alive. It is not always grand. Sometimes it is found in the smallest acts of love, in the quiet pursuit of truth, or in service to something beyond ourselves. When we do not know what we live for, we drift. We fill our time but not our souls. We follow paths that others choose and wonder why we feel empty. But meaning is not out there waiting. It is waiting inside us to be claimed. It grows when we live honestly. When we listen inward, and when we give ourselves to something we believe matters. To ask what gives life meaning is not a luxury. It is a necessity. It is not weakness to seek it. It is strength. And when we begin to name what gives us the will to rise each morning, we begin to return to life with a deeper sense of presence and direction. Returning to the self, the journey of healing and self-liberation. The path forward is not found in chasing perfection. It begins with returning to what was once forgotten. Yourself. Beneath the layers of fear, expectation, and pain lives a self that has always been waiting. Not the ideal version others wanted. Not the mask worn to belong. But the real, imperfect, courageous self. Healing is not a straight road. It is a spiral. We revisit the same wounds with deeper understanding. We stumble, pause, and begin again. This is not failure. This is growth. Each step inward reconnects us with our strength, our voice, and our truth. We do not need to become someone new. We need to remember who we were before we learned to hide. Self-liberation is not about escaping life. It is about stepping into it with open eyes and an open heart. It is the willingness to face discomfort, to feel fully, and to make choices that align with our inner knowing. It is not loud. It is quiet, steady, and deeply personal. To return to the self is the most radical act in a world that constantly pulls us outward. It is how we reclaim meaning. How we begin again. And how we finally live not as copies of others, but as whole beings, free to shape a life that is truly our own. Each part of this journey is not just an explanation, but a reminder that you are not alone in your confusion, your pain, or your longing to live authentically. Maturity does not arrive in a single day, and healing is not a destination but a process of returning to yourself. Step by step. When you have the courage to face your inner truth, you not only change yourself but also open the path to a life that is deeper, more meaningful, and more free. And that is exactly what your soul has always known it deserves.